All right, hello, and welcome back. Welcome back into the room. Again, we are back with our Insecure Season 4 episode. Can you believe 8? We are already at episode 8. It's like I'm ready to see 9, but I'm sad because it's going to be ending soon. We're at episode 8, Low Key Happy. Again, as always, I am Brittany, better known as Be Right Breeze, and I do have my sister.
Hi, I'm Genia, and you can find me online at the only Genia Right.
So, you guys, before we get started, we definitely just want to make mention of everything that is going on right now. Just a rest in peace to Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd. And just know that we are absolutely hashtag Black Lives Matter here. And we do love and stand with all of our brothers and sisters right now. We absolutely do. But we do want to take this time just to have a little fun right now. It's been kind of stressful, right? So we just want to take just a little bit of moment to bring you some smiles and some laughs and just some perspective, because this episode, okay, did anybody believe that Issa was on the other end of that phone before we saw the preview for next week, for the episode next week? So but as we always do, my sister is going to take us and start us off with a nice synopsis, recap of the episode, and then we're going to get into a few questions. Take it away, sis.
Sure. Well, it's so interesting. You said that, Lawrence was calling Issa from the airport. But the truth is, we really don't know because Lawrence was in touch with both Issa and Condola, and
True. It's
he doesn't
true.
actually meet up with Condola in the episode, but the two of them are texting and planning to meet up. And Lawrence actually admits to Issa that things seem to be up in the air between him and Condola. So, Lawrence and Condola,
It's
they don't
crazy because it sounded so final when she saw her at the block party. It sounded real final.
totally, totally. Which is all the more reason why it's really a possibility that Lawrence could have called her too. You know,
Mm,
because it just
hello.
like where in the heck did that come from?
Mm.
But in this episode, Condola and Lawrence don't actually end up meeting up. Why? Because Lawrence was just a little busy. He was otherwise occupied. With who? What was he up to? Well, he was.
Great question.
It's a great. It's a great question. What are you up to, Lawrence? Lawrence was
Mm.
with Issa this entire episode. Issa and Lawrence met up for a drink, and the place was super noisy. So they ended up going to dinner at a restaurant that the two of them had always planned to try, but they hadn't. And then they even ended up going to an art fair together. And so their evening together was pretty long, but it needed to be because they had a lot of stuff to sort out.
Yeah.
Over the course of the evening, they acknowledged how much each other had changed. So Issa, for example, and she had changed in small ways, like, okay, she has a new favorite drink. She wanted to make sure Lawrence knew that, but also acknowledging that she has changed in big ways, like the fact that she is on her entrepreneurial grind right now and that her perspective on happiness has completely changed. She no longer looks outside of herself for happiness. She realizes
Mm.
that she can choose it, that it's a choice, and that she is choosing it and she's going to make it happen. Also another big change on her end, she's no longer friends with Molly. And it's really interesting because she says it in pretty definitive terms. She doesn't say me and Molly are in a fight. She says that they're not friends anymore. So it's just,
Which Lawrence laughs.
yeah,
He chuckles like, whatever,
yeah,
because he knows them.
right, right. And he wanted to, he asked a follow-up question and she was like, let's just not even get into it. So Molly was not present in their evening conversation. you
Yeah.
know and when they were talking about the ways that Lawrence had changed, they talked about, some small things came up. So for example, when they were moving between locations, Lawrence called, a black car service, Lyft Black instead of just a regular Lyft, and she's like, oh, fancy, realizing that the last time she was hanging out with Lawrence, he was broke. right? And so it's like, oh, now you get the mid-range vehicle, not even
Listen.
not even the low range. And then they talked about the fact,
Shout out to that Lyft driver.
oh,
That lady was hilarious.
she was so
She
funny.
carried them and everything.
It was so funny and so unnecessary. Please,
So unnecessary.
and they were talking about ways that Lawrence has changed in big ways. So, he has a great apartment now, and he has realized that being a part of a team is where he thrives. Whereas he spent so much time trying to do something entrepreneurial because he felt like it was something he should be doing. But he's realizing now, you know what? He doesn't have ideas.
That is good.
Right.
Learning
clarity.
To
And they're acknowledging throughout the course of the evening all these things that have changed, but also there's some things that just haven't changed. Most specifically, they still have a great rapport and a great chemistry, and they have so many inside jokes and just a very natural rhythm, that kind of rhythm that just comes from being in somebody's life for a really long time. And it was really, really very intimate. They're kind of dynamic.
Not just being in someone's life, being intentionally in their lives. We know some people, you can work with a coworker for years and not know anything about them. You could sit right beside them in the same cubicle and not know anything. But these two lived together and they were very intentional because they were actually best friends. They were actually best friends. So yes, that's good.
And as much as they were best friends, part of what they unpack is the amount of disconnect that was actually going on at the time where they did break up, and you all recall that this was as a result of Issa, cheating on Lawrence. And Lawrence, he had teed up this whole night out for drinks by telling Issa, he had something he wanted to ask her, and Lawrence basically asked her, he's like, I have to tell you, I'm just wondering about myself and whether I give up on things too easily, and he starts to say, to just unpack his feelings about, well, what would have happened if we had stayed together, and Issa says, well, of course she wishes that they would have stayed together and that he hadn't given up on them. But Lawrence is so clear about just listen, I have unresolved issues with this. He said, why Daniel? Why Daniel? He needed to ask that question. And you don't always get an opportunity to have this kind of closure dialogue. And Ethan says, you know what? Daniel popped up at a time when you weren't giving me any attention, and he offered me attention. And then they had a conversation that
she gave him something he can feel.
Right? And to love him love, right? And so love is real. Right? And then, we got some insight into their relationship. This is insight we have never had. We have never had during the whole course of this show, this insight about how broken their relationship had actually become.
Yes.
Issa says, listen, she said, sometimes I would avoid coming home after work. I would just drive around. She said there was a whole year where, we weren't having sex. You didn't want to talk to me. She was like, I didn't know what to do. And Lawrence was like, even as broken as things were, we had recommitted to each other. I had bought you a ring. She didn't know he had bought a ring, and she's like, he's like, there had to be something in you that wanted to blow things up. And she says, no, it was never her intention to blow things up. But she was the relationship was so broken, and she was so worried about them falling back into that brokenness. And so it was just her kind of acting out. And she takes the opportunity to ask him some questions. Again, that they're just so fortunate to be able to get this clarity from each other. It doesn't happen in real life many times. And
Mm-mm.
she asked him about why, why he just shut down in the way that he did for such a long time. And he expresses that, he basically was starting to resent her. Watching her go about her daily life and being productive when he was completely stalled, it basically made him resentful. And so they talk all of that through, and they're honest with each other. They agree not to walk on eggshells, just to keep it real. They have this
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And then that at the end of the night, they end up back at Lawrence's apartment. And, it was a moment where Issa could have left and was about to leave. But she essentially turns to him and says to him, what if I stay? What if I stay? And then Lauren says, what, I have to tell you, tonight made me very happy. And she says, you make me happy. And then Lauren says, me too. And she does end up staying the night at his place. And the next morning, she leaves, and they both say goodbye.
Wait, don't skip over what happened that evening.
Well, oh yeah, well she ended up spending the night. They had sex. They had sex. She ended up
That
spending the night.
that was next level sex.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know what that was. That was like they was making love, honey. That was something. I said, well, Issa and Lawrence,
Ocean.
we ain't seen
So
you
much
like this
ocean.
before. We ain't seen you. I was like, oh, okay.
And in the morning she's like, she leaves, and before she leaves, he's like, are you good? She's like, I'm good. And she's like, are you good? He's like, I'm good. They had a little exchange about something that had come up in the evening, which was just about why Lawrence had actually missed her block party event. He was actually in San Francisco job hunting, just filling out options, professionally. And she kind of raised it. They didn't have a lot of dialogue that morning, but the one bit of dialogue they did have was about her just saying, man, San Francisco's an option. And he was just like, you're going to miss me, right? And so it was just her kind of grappling, I think, out loud with all the possibilities. And so that was the episode. They had a night together, and then she's walking home at the end. There's one thing in the episode that happened that I have to just name. I already kind of said that Condola was just, popping up via text messages as her and Lawrence were like talking about getting together at some point. Well, they actually, over the course of the evening, they did run into Calvin, which is the TSA guy that Issa was dating casually for a while. And he was, of course, a wonderful, comedic delight in the episode. He was
I
so
just
funny.
hope it pops up all the time.
Oh my
Every
God.
episode. Just randomly.
Funny. So funny, and it was so random. I have to just say, even that interaction to me was extremely mature, because just because you see somebody casually, it doesn't mean that it has to be awkward. It doesn't mean that you have to, feel some kind of way about running into them in the street. It's like, listen, we're all grown here, and that's what I appreciated. For Calvin just to be able to say, yeah, we used to hang out,
We
but
used to hook up. We used to link up. I was like,
past tense, used to.
exactly.
So yeah, so that was basically the episode, sis. I think that was pretty much it. I mean, it was about emotion. It was clarifying conversation. It was the exchange, and then there was just so much intimacy shared between them throughout the course of the evening. So that's basically it.
That was good, sis. That was good. You hit every nail on the head where they were, and just how their conversation went.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to the cinematography of this episode. It was like it's always amazing, but just they were very artistic this time where they could be. And also shout out to the costume designer. Issa and Lawrence were looking so nice.
Yeah, they looked great.
They looked great. And then also to oh, there was one more thing that I wanted to point out, but now I can't remember. Oh, to Issa Rae's physical humor. When she fell on the floor at the beginning of the
Real
episode, just
awkward.
showing like, listen, you've changed, but you're still you.
You're right.
So
Right.
it's just beautiful to show that you can evolve, but you don't have to change innately who you are.
Yes.
Issa is awkward. She's clumsy. We know when she got that new couch, she had already spilled food on it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so that's just who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then they were
so
so nervous. They were so nervous.
yeah.
So right before she walked in and tripped all over the place, Lawrence was like choking on a peanut. You know, they were just nervous
No,
too.
it was
So
the Altoid.
really,
It was the Altoid. It was
yeah,
I started cracking them out like that thing to be hot.
we were nervous. That was so cute. So
It was. It
mm,
was. So listen, you guys, as you know, our next part, we jump into just a few questions to dive a little deeper into the episode. So my first question that I do have for all of us to ponder and to get into is, are you surprised that Lawrence was in touch with both Issa and Condola? I will tell you guys, I was shocked that he was still in touch with Condola. Reason being, when Condola disappeared behind that van in the block party, I said, well, we're not going to see or hear from Condola anymore. She's
the
gone.
fact that she even crept in through the shadows. I mean,
Right.
it was like,
What's going on here?
right.
So I was absolutely shocked that he was still in touch with her.
Mm-hmm.
But what it didn't shock me that he was talking to Issa though. And I think because that pivotal question we had, I believe that was in season 3, well, earlier in the episode. Was that earlier in the episode? That was earlier in the season, excuse me, where Condola, I'm saying this episode, but I'm saying neither in season, earlier in the season where Condola says, if you and Issa never broke up, like if Issa had never cheated, would you two still be together? And I think that question was very pivotal, and Lawrence had the soul search. He had to have that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that him being in touch with the both of them is a representation of Lawrence grappling with who he was and who he is, and wanting to make peace with who he was, and then wanting to make peace with the person who was pivotal in his life, with who he was at that moment. Which is, as Janai was talking about before, a rare, if ever, situation, right? A popular song we all know, "Hello from the Outside," right? "Hello" by Adele. You
Hello
know,
from the other side.
yes, I must have tried 1,000 times.
Right. I couldn't think of the next part.
To tell you, to tell you, I'm sorry
I'm
for
sorry.
breaking your heart. So you don't always get those moments to come
No.
back and say, I'm not trying to be back with you, but I just need to let you know I apologize for doing this, and I'm not the person.
And I have some questions that need to be answered.
And I got some questions. Okay, so I just believe that it didn't surprise me that he was in touch with Issa, but it did surprise me that he was in touch with Condola. Because I just thought that we were done with her storyline. But as you can see, even though he's in touch with her, I don't think that she's important right now to him. I don't think that she's a true factor to him. I mean, we'll see the next time they have an interaction. But the question for me would become my personal feelings. I don't believe that the type of person Condola is that she would allow him back into her space with him not coming over like he just said he would. So I feel like Condola, who she is, she would say, no, that was our moment to have a conversation, and it didn't happen.
Mm.
And so that must be represented that we're not supposed to be together. So I don't know. I don't know. So
Yeah.
sis, do you
You
have
know what?
any thoughts on that?
I'll tell you, I think that, you know, something that Condola and I have in common is going through divorce. And I think that being a grown up and being in relationships in general, you learn how complicated things are. But the end of a long-term relationship, or one that you intended to be long-term, uh you
Right.
know there is so much complexity and nuance there, that you can't walk away from an experience like that without understanding that breakups are just a little messy. They just
Yep.
are. And so because of that, I feel like Condola could have a level of tolerance for Lawrence going through the process of actually getting closure
Sure.
with Issa. And I could absolutely, in my mind, I could get to a very reasonable scenario where everything that has happened between Issa and Lawrence in this episode actually is closure. I could see it being the end, and I could see it paving a way for Lawrence and Condola to be together, And so, was I surprised that they are in touch with each other? Not really. When we saw him calling her or making a phone call from the airport, she was one of the people I thought he might have been calling.
Yep.
Because the other thing that we all know is that real chemistry is hard to find. And
Absolutely.
so these streets don't love you. They don't love you at
Listen,
all. Okay. And
0 %
and so it's like, yeah, this was a real, they had a serious set of disconnects that emerged around Thanksgiving for Lawrence and Condola. But to me, they were also things that time and
Yep.
perspective could move them through and past. So I wasn't
Sure.
as surprised as you, sis. And
Yeah.
and I also think that relationships can be messy.
Absolutely. 100%.
Mhm.
Especially one that long.
Exactly.
Especially one that long.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, my next question gets into, which is kind of what we were talking about a bit. Does Lawrence regret breaking up with Issa?
Mm.
Um, this is a hard question because I am one that I'm a firm believer that you make the best decision you can in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what your emotion is, regardless of how you're feeling. You made the best decision for you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the information that you have. And in the moment when he broke up, his mindset is, I'm getting it together now. I'm doing what you asked, and you cheated on me. This is something I would never do. But see, what happens in that moment, as he was talking about during their date, was that I didn't want to look at myself. So
Mm.
I blamed you.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't negate the fact that she cheated,
Yeah.
but how do you react when for a year this person you're in love with and you were really trying to hold down the best you could, but they weren't giving you the things that you need,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you're starting to hate where you are? What
Mm-hmm.
do you do then?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, not making any excuses, but we make decisions and choices that again will we go based off what we're feeling sometimes in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that Lawrence may regret how they broke up, but I don't think that he actually regrets them breaking up
Mm-hmm.
because he sees where he has grown now as a
Mm-hmm.
person. I don't believe that Lawrence thinks that he could have gotten to where he is right now had he not had some time to really think and do and be and explore and do these different things, if he was still in a relationship with Lawrence, with Issa. So again, I think that he may regret how,
Yeah.
but maybe not just the fact that they broke up.
Mm-hmm. Well,
What do you think? Sis?
you know what, sis? I agree with that. I agree with that. You know, I think regret is a strong word because
Mm-hmm.
something about the word regret, it kind of means that you have clarity about your feelings on something. I
Mm-hmm.
clearly regret that that happened, you know. And I don't think that Lawrence has that level of clarity. You know, I think I kind of feel like he's still questioning the decision. And
Yeah.
and I feel like and the other thing that I think is important to call out is that, you know, so the name of the show is Insecure. And when we think of Insecure, we immediately think of Issa as as she is the main character and the writer of the show. We think of her and the creator of the show, rather, there are other writers, the creator of the show, um, that she is the one that the title of the show is talking about. But the truth is, all of these main characters are insecure. You know, I think Molly, insecure in so many ways, professionally, personally,
Listen.
relationship. And then we have Lawrence, insecure. He is insecure. And this whole, all of this is about, I feel like a journey toward comfort with self, you know, and like growing self-awareness and growing understanding. So they're becoming less insecure. They're becoming more secure in who they are, all of them.
Yes.
But the thing about being generally insecure is that you question your decisions. You
All
question
the time.
decisions, you question what other people think about your decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think you're right, sis. I think he does wish that things had gone down differently. But, you know, with hindsight, it's always clearer how you should have handled it. But I think it might be just, I think it's a bit of an overstatement to say that he regrets that it happened. Because I just doubt he has that level of clarity on his feelings about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's murky. It's murky. But of course, it's
Listen.
becoming clearer as they
Yeah.
get to know themselves. You know, Issa was talking
Absolutely.
tonight about happiness in the episode. You know,
Yep.
she talked about like choosing to be happy
Yeah.
rather than just wanting external things to be your
Mm-hmm.
source of happiness. She talked about choosing it and making it happen. Well, you know, when you get to that place, that's a much less insecure frame for your life. And
Absolutely.
so, again, does she regret that all this happened? You know, she said that she wishes that Lawrence had not broken up with her. But everything that has happened, regret's a strong word that just is to me a little bit more. Um, it's just it will require a level of clarity that I don't think these characters have at this point.
I agree. I agree. Well, that brings me really into our next question, which is, could Issa and Lawrence have attained this level of growth if they had stayed together? So I think we kind of already touched on that, really, that we don't think they could have. You know, we believe that they needed this time apart. However, with that being said, you can see what Issa, we're getting a glimpse of what Issa and Lawrence were like when they were healthy,
Mm.
in a good space in their relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and probably even more, but who they are at their best, right? For the best versions of themselves. Like how Issa said, she was like, I mean, you should see me now, I'm this shit. You know, just like her, just them being confident about who they are, but still
Yeah.
being able to joke and know each other, and
Mm-hmm.
even also Issa ordering all the food when they got to the second restaurant that they went to. Um, but in that showing each other, I still remember you. You and even when we were at our worst, I still remember what you like. I still remember our jokes. I still remember what you drink. I remember what you eat. Um, But I remember this now, and I'm able to smile even on the parts that weren't so shiny about us. They were all things that we needed to get to who we are right now. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of times for people, we don't like that, using the analogy I'm sure we've all heard before, just a beautiful flower. Like a flower rises up through dirt and mud, and it needs water, and it to grow and to flourish, and it
Yeah,
needs these
a
things
diamond
to
needs pressure to be created.
right, exactly, like you need these things to
Yeah.
make you into something beautiful, a caterpillar. It has to go away for a while sometimes. And when it comes out, it's a beautiful butterfly. So I just, nature, life, natural things showing us that life is a process. And I think something as humans, our controlling nature, our desire for processes and things like that tell us that if I do A, I get B, and I'm going to get C. Life is not math. Life is absolutely 100% not math. And so you can do some of the greatest things. I was just watching a creator conference with Kevin on stage, and some of the creators were just talking about how, let me tell you, I planned some of my videos to the T. I put them out there and I'm like, people don't like this as much. But the stuff I just do on a whim, that was crazy. And I was just like, oh, let me just do this to make sure I put a video out today. People love it. And it gets
Right.
so much attention. So it's just one of those things that say you can't you can't hold on to these ideals of what life is supposed to be,
Mhm.
and how, using Janai's word, the messiness of it.
Mhm.
So So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
to
know
answer
what?
the question, I don't think that, yeah,
Yeah.
that they could have attained their level of growth together. They
Mhm.
had to go away.
Yeah. You know, so let me first just say that I struggle sometimes with the sentiment that things have to be hard in order for them to be valuable, or for, I struggle with like that you have to get through the storm and the rain to get to your destiny. I struggle.
Sure.
I feel like there have to be sometimes where the things that do come to you naturally are the right thing. That has to be the case, sometimes, and everything can't be hard, you know. And so could they have made it to this space? I mean, so if we think about what was happening right at the time that they finally did that she cheated on Lawrence,
Hmm.
Issa, so Lawrence had just started finally looking for a job again. And so he found that job as a part of the job hunt that he had already started when he and Issa were still together, so before they broke up.
Hmm.
So in terms of his professional trajectory and the clarity he's getting about his place as an his mindset kind of being more comfortable as an employee more than a business owner, he would have still made it there. When I think about Issa, she was already like spinning out at her job and really feeling uncomfortable with it, and really on her way to making some kind of change professionally. Now, I will say that all of this stuff probably would have taken longer. It
Hmm.
probably would have taken longer because there were just some shakeups that enabled things to move more quickly. But so for example, there were moments where, like, we think about the kind of advice and support that she got from Daniel, and things like that. So I think that there's still a scenario where they would have been able to get there, to get out of that funk, to get out of that rut. It would have probably involved some couples therapy, some individual therapy, and again, just like a commitment to doing something different so that you can get a different result. But I think that there is a scenario where they could have still found their way back to thriving relationship and thriving individuals if they had stayed together. But I will also say that surviving infidelity in a relationship, I don't know how well people do that. I don't know if people actually make their way when they just stay together after that kind of thing, if they really are able to um, heal, and that maybe the distance, the time apart is the way to heal from that kind of thing. I mean, I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't know. I think it's tricky. I think
It is.
because life is so, it is messy and it's so hard to predict it. I think there's many paths that every time you take a step, you have a choice between going left or going
Man,
right.
it can, whatever step you take, it impacts the rest of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Well, my next question is, do you think that Issa and Lawrence should stay together or will even get back together? Or do you think they should be together?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think that they also will
Woo!
get back together?
This is tricky.
And I am a person that loves love. And so my fantasy part of me is like, wouldn't it be great if they could just get back together at this
Yeah.
great stage in life? But their ending after that next morning, I did not see that. I saw that as if to say, this door is now closed. There's not some lock and key and deadbolts on it. Oh my God, I don't ever. No, the door is just closed. And we've had the hard conversation.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, we've had the hard conversation, and now
Mm-hmm.
we can fully move on. Because
Mm-hmm.
anything that was a mystery, right? Because they had that part of the conversation that said no eggshells. And let me tell you guys something. When he walked away and pretended like he was walking away and left her, I sunk into the ground. I was like, Lawrence,
I knew he was coming back.
don't leave it
I
like
knew
that,
he was coming back.
please.
I was like, this is not even Lawrence to leave like that. I knew he was coming back.
I was like, he's on some new player status that we don't even know about. Hold on. We're about to go see Gonzola. You
Oh
done
my
had your
gosh.
little dinner. You about to get you some dessert. Hold on.
That would have
So
been so awful.
that would have been so terrible. But when he
So
came back, uh, when he came back, I just was so happy about that. Because something I love about Issa and Lawrence is their friendship. I
mm-hmm.
just I love in general when anyone can be themselves fully and genuinely around another person.
Mm.
And not just because you're someone that's just like, I'm myself wherever I go. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when someone, because even those people that say that, you find out later on in conversation and being around them, they're not fully themselves
Yeah.
wherever they go. So to see people who are genuinely, I can fall flat on my face, and we're still like laughing about it and can have conversation. And then I can say I'm calling my Lyft driver and I'm actually calling your phone, so I'm teasing you right now. But it's no love lost. It's nothing like that because it's truly your friend. So with all that being said, I don't I don't actually at first I wanted them to, but I don't want Issa and Lawrence to get back together. I actually
Mm-hmm.
want them to continue to explore a life outside of each other. And then maybe, who knows what life happens in the future. But I don't want it right now. It would feel too, rom-comish, which I love a good rom-com. Don't get me wrong, okay?
Definitely do.
But it would feel too like the birds are singing now. I don't want that corniness. I want that realness of what that actually looks like. And so I
Mm-hmm.
don't want them to get back together, and I don't think they will.
Mm-hmm. Man, this is like so hard to predict. Um,
Hmm.
I
They're
I
so good at making your brain do 87 different things, which FYI, I saw a review. I didn't watch it, but the caption was season 4, episode 8, and it was like, is Condola pregnant? I was cracking up.
oh,
I said, are we? I was like, whoa, 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 Johnny, whoa. So I loved
fortunately they met after Lawrence had his wake up call, so I would hope
right.
that he had moved into a more thoughtful.
Sex pattern.
But
Please, sir.
anyway, but listen,
Please, sir.
yeah, yeah. But in the event that Issa was the one he called coming out of the airport, and Condola initiated their, the fact that they resumed communication, then that actually is that's a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the show could throw that out. I could see that. I think
But
that
you know what, sis? I think that that is what happened. Because he looked a little shocked when she reached out. But then again, he did say that they were in communication. So
yeah,
it's weird.
they had plans to meet at a different day, and she reached out and said, "Can
Mm-hmm.
we meet tonight?"
Got it.
Instead. So yeah, they had been in touch
Sure
already.
did.
You know,
Sure did.
and I appreciate that he didn't hide that from Issa. She
Me
called over
too.
the phone. He was like, "Yeah, it's Condola calling. This is tricky." And so could they get back together? I think the answer is yes. Should they
Mm.
get back together? I think that answer. I think they could successfully be back together if they take their time and date. If they were to try to do some kind of full steam ahead, I think would be too much just because neither of them have enough clarity about their individual paths yet, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of lock it back down again fully.
Yeah.
But there are certain big decisions out there, like Lawrence moving away to San Francisco,
I
that
know.
would probably force them
Praying,
to,
praying.
into making a decision one way or the other a little bit more quickly. And so much of who Issa is and what her identity is about her neighborhood and wanting to help that place to thrive. And so while her
Absolutely.
work of building Black community could be done anywhere and it needs to be done everywhere, um, she's
Hello.
specifically passionate about where she is. And so her moving to San Francisco, and even in a long-term scenario, it feels like it would be harder. It would be harder. So what's my prediction? You see I'm hedging. I'm like, my prediction
I
is that
know it's
they
hard.
my prediction is that they will not get back together. And that is just because this show is working overtime to give us real life. And I don't think they're going to get back together.
And I love whenever you hear the writers talk about them and the producers talk about the characters in this insecure world and how they're basically asking the character, not the actual people, but you guys, how would this character actually
Yeah.
react
What is the
in this
truth
moment?
of this character's reaction?
Where they are, and that I appreciate their care to detail like that. They're so careful with detail. Yeah, that's good, sis. That's so hard.
It's
It's so
hard.
hard,
I
especially
know.
when you hear relationships that are so long. You're just like, no, don't
Yeah.
do it. But
Yeah. But I'll tell
it
you
kind
the
of
other thing, I also don't feel like longevity is the reason to make it work. That's
hello,
how I feel. I mean, I feel like
hello.
people evolve, and if things have changed, things have changed. And being in
Things have
denial about that don't help
changed.
nobody.
That's not helping anybody. You're
It
just
don't
making
help.
yourself, you're wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my friend Ashley. She has made it very clear anytime we talk about this show that she is Team Nathan. She's Team Nathan 100%. So if we were to ask her that question, she would say, no, because she needs to be with Nathan.
You know what? If all of this episode was a closure for them, I think it would be great if Issa ended up with Nathan and Lawrence ended up with Condola. And by ended up with, we mean gets with now, because you never know what the future holds.
Never
I think it'd
know.
be wonderful if all of this was just to create space for
Yeah.
because a part of a what if, when what ifs are flying around in your mind, to have the opportunity to know that option A and B are both possible, it doesn't mean you'll take option A just because
Yep.
you now know for sure that it could work. So just
Hmm.
because the two of them just say, you know what, there is enough here to keep it going. And we know that now. We worked for it, now we know. It doesn't mean they'll choose it.
Yep.
And so
So good.
tricky.
Well, you guys, my last question
Oh,
is, what do you think Issa was thinking about as she was walking home? And I'm
mm,
going to add on to my question, in those boots. Let me tell you what I'm not going to do is walk anywhere for a long period of time in boots, high heel boots. No, ma'am. But she did.
she did
But it
uphill,
was
downhill.
uphill, downhill. I would tell you that smile that she had on her face, that sense of peace, clarity, the happy, a genuine happy, which is a smile we hadn't seen on Issa in some time, only because of all that's been happening with her and Molly. She couldn't even properly celebrate her accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
So to see her walking in the sun with her bag and her purse and walking home smiling and just feeling good, I I appreciated that, and I think I feel like Issa was thinking about, I just had a great time. I just had an amazing moment, and I don't want anything to interrupt this moment. This bliss that I have. I have peace from a large chunk of my life. I have answers, questions answered, and I do actually believe that I am the shit. So whatever is in my life and whatever is supposed to be in my life is going to come to me, because I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna manifest that shit. And whatever is not supposed to be there and it doesn't serve me, I'm not gonna have to worry about that, because this is a confirmation again of what I'm putting pen to paper, right? That I do make choices that make me happy.
Mm.
And I knew staying last night was going to make me happy. And being around him in that moment made me happy. So I think Issa's walking home owning all of her glory and feeling the sunshine and
Mm-hmm.
feeling freedom and feeling endorphins and happiness that are not laden with confusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was honest, I was vulnerable, I was my whole self. And also she did a little bit of a boss move too.
What do you mean?
She was supposed to go home. Listen, you guys, on our other podcast, we just reviewed Love and Basketball. Shout out to The Right Perspective. And it is a sibling podcast that we do have. And we just did Love and Basketball. And in Love and
Our
Basketball,
brother.
if you all remember the end with our brother, if you all remember the end, listen, Sanaa Lathan's character says, I'm going to play you for your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it is very clear in 2 weeks, Mayap's character is getting a whole married.
Yep.
I feel like Issa had a moment where she was like, so I know you're supposed to meet up with her. I don't actually care.
Yeah.
I want to stay. And to that, he made zero contest. He said, I want you to stay too.
Yeah.
And it will make, so I would love to see the other side of that, because we don't have a moment where Lawrence texts Condola to say, I'm not coming over. We're not meeting tonight. I don't see, they didn't show that. Of course, we
Yeah.
don't know if it happened. But that's why I'm like, listen, if he didn't send that message, Condola's gonna be like, we cool. You don't have to come over. I'm fine. Like, and she's gonna move on. Um, or because she was the one that posed the question of that insecure question, right? If y'all two would have never broke, if she would have never cheated, would y'all two still be together?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, I just think that Issa was just walking home on cloud nine because she's
Mm-hmm.
owning it.
Yeah. That's good.
And manifesting it.
That's good. That's good. I felt like I agree with that. I agree with all of that. I also think she was feeling nostalgic and thinking about all the good times that they had. And I think that that kind of closure opportunity gives you permission to then start to celebrate the good times again, because you can look back on the good times with a brokenheartedness when there isn't closure. But once there is closure, you can look back at the good times and remember them as good times and realize
Exactly.
that a relationship ending or a couple becoming incompatible at some point doesn't undo all of the time that they were together where compatibility was real. And
Exactly.
so I felt like she was looking like that wistful nostalgia kind of look. But I also
Yeah.
feel like the other thing that she was able to get is that clarity and confirmation that Lawrence will be fine. The other thing about spending so much time with someone, especially those post college years, is that so much of their identities as adults was in a we kind of context. And so there's no way that she hasn't been worried about Lawrence, and just needing to know for sure that he was okay. And I feel like she got that. And so I guess my guess is that another thing that was on her mind was, yeah, we're fine apart. And
Yeah.
and he will be fine. And the responsibility that I have felt for him and had legitimately for him many years, and that whole guilt that I have felt for feeling like I dropped the ball, or not feeling like you did drop the ball, of your responsibility and accountability. That it does. He's fine. He is okay in spite of that. So I
Yeah.
think it's everything you said, sis, and I think it's also just the the allowing herself to be in the fullness of all that they were in a positive light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're gonna be fine. They're both gonna be fine.
You
I don't want this
fine.
show to end for 100 years, but if it ended right now after this episode, uh,
Okay.
if it did,
We gonna be all right.
I could feel closure, because it's like, listen, everyone here, they're not together in the way that they were when we met them, but they're fine.
Isn't that crazy? Because it's so real life what they're doing
Mhm.
right now. It's
Yeah.
so real life. Everybody has something going on. We
Yep.
don't quite know what Kelly got going on, but we do.
But she's fine.
She's fine. She's fine.
Hmm.
So I'll be looking forward to these last two episodes.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I appreciate you always, as always, hanging in
Thank
here
you.
with us, coming back each week and watching an episode with us and reviewing it. We're looking forward to your answers to the questions in the comments, whether you agree, whether you disagree. As always, be nice now. Okay? because I will tell you, I'm on the block ministry. Okay. So we do like to have a good time and we do like to have fun. So with that being said, just let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the only Genia Ray.
And so you guys, you can find me on most social media platforms at Be Right Breeze. And we are looking forward to seeing you next week. So have a good night. Bye, you guys.
Bye.